Hello and welcome to AXSChat. We're delighted to be joined by a plethora of people today. It seems that we're gaining more people by the week. So today we're welcoming the gang from MassMutual and also Edmund Asiedu. So we're talking about pollution. Obviously, it's our favourite topic. So if you want to introduce yourself, we've got Colin Browning, who's head of social media. We've got Edmund, and we've got Kelly. So who wants to start? So let's start with you, Colin. So tell us a little bit about yourself and also why it is that MassMutual wants to engage with people with disabilities.
So, well, first of all, I'm very happy to be here today. So thank you for the invite. And again, I'm Colin Browning, head of social media at MassMutual. I've been there for, wow, it's been almost 2 years, and it's been a fantastic ride there. MassMutual is a great company. To dig into your question a little bit, why does the organization want to focus on people with disabilities? I might even want to pass that one to my wonderful colleague, Kelly PSID, who is focused on our special care market. And just as a little setup for Kelly, and one of the great things about MassMutual is that we're really focused on providing our services for all Americans, you know, whether you're a lefty, whether you're a righty, no matter who you vote for, no matter the color of your skin, who you love. And one of the things that Kelly does is she focuses on our special needs and special care market. And so that's, well, Kelly, why don't you take it from there?
Great. Thank you, Colin. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me as well. It's so nice to be here. My name is Kelly PSID, and I'm in charge of the special care program at MassMutual. I'm the head of the special care, and I'm also a special needs mom. I have a passion around helping people with developmental and intellectual disabilities. I came from MetLife. I've only been with MassMutual a little over a year, but I have been within the special needs market for about 18 years. Here at MassMutual, we really concentrate on working with families that have children and or dependents with special needs to make sure that we are helping all the families that we serve, not just ones with special needs. So my primary focus is to help those families and work with them. We also work with many national nonprofits to help our families and guide them through some of the obstacles that they have and some of the challenges when it comes to planning for a dependent with special needs.
Okay, great. So you have a mainstream line of products, but do you have any specific products that you aim at the market and community of persons with disabilities?
Well, special care is really not a product, it's a service. And what the service is that we educate families about the planning process for their dependents with special needs. As a special needs mom, I have 4 children, but one of my sons has a developmental disability that does not allow him to live independently or do anything on his own. So when it comes to planning for my son, the planning for him is very unique in comparison to my other children. So we want to make sure that anyone that comes into MassMutual, whether you have a special needs dependent or not, you're prepared and your family is properly prepared for the future for that individual. So our advisors that are specially trained help educate those families so that they plan properly and they don't make any mistakes along the way, and they can continue to preserve government benefits and have everything they need to prepare for the planning for that individual.
So what type of information do you have available for people who are searching for information? Because, you know, today is quite difficult. Everyone Googles a question and they won't necessarily get the best answer. So how do you find a way to go through that to make sure that people will get the right information when they need it?
Well, right. Families like mine face very different objects when it comes to planning for an individual with special needs. They cannot leave them money straight out if they want to preserve government benefits. In most states across the United States, if you leave that individual more than $2,000, you could technically bar them from government benefits or cause them to lose their government benefits. These need government benefits as well as would like to provide for that person in the future. In order to do it, proper planning has to take place, because if you don't do proper planning and say an aunt or someone leaves that individual monies, that could bar all the planning that you've put in place. So we educate our families so that they know exactly how much they can leave and how to leave it. We're not encouraging individuals not to leave individuals with special needs monies. We're just telling them and showing them how they can leave it to protect them so that they have that money available in the future.
I agree, Kelly, and I also, as you, have a daughter with a disability with Down syndrome, and it's very confusing what we're allowed or not allowed to do, how much money she can have, and with the laws recently changing, it, you know, I need to talk to MassMutual myself, so I think it's very confusing. Let's also introduce MassMutual's guest. So Edmund, if we can pass the microphone over to you so you can tell us who you are. And then we want to talk a little bit about Adopt a Runner and Live, now I'm going to get it wrong, Colin, Live Mutual too, Live Mutual. So it can be both ways. So we can talk about some of the recent activities that MassMutual has done to engage with communities of, not only for people with disabilities, but all communities, how they're engaging us on social media so that we know about these products and these services that MassMutual has to make sure that families like mine and Kelly's are supported. So Edmund, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so hi everybody. My name is Edmund Asiedu, and I live in New York City. I've been here for about 8 years now. I'm originally from Ghana, and I'm a polio survivor. I got attacked by polio at age 2. So I would say that virtually I've been living with disability throughout my life. And, you know, I've also been an athlete for some time. I started back home in Ghana playing wheelchair basketball. And when I came here, I was looking for disability sports that would be more convenient and also allow me to pursue at least, you know, something that I'm passionate about. And, you know, I fell in the hands of Achilles International here in New York, and they are actually global. They are everywhere, you know, promoting disability sports. So I joined them, and I've been with them since April 2010, and I've done several races, you know, marathons and, you know, a lot of them. And what I would say is that I'm actually fully in love with Achilles, and everybody can attest to that fact because what they are doing is incredible. I believe I'll get the opportunity to talk more about it as we go along. So basically, and also I'm a career counselor here in New York, Berkeley College, and Berkeley College has about 9 campuses in New Jersey and in New York, and including an online campus. So, and I've been doing, you know, I've been here for nearly 2 years, and it's really fun, you know, working with students, employers, and other professionals. Yeah, so that is what I can say for now.
Well, and I'll also say that, and MassMutual learned this as well, that Edmund is an expert on social media. He's a very, we all know him, Antonio, Neal, and I know him because he's a big advocate for people with disabilities and making sure that individuals with disabilities have their own voice. And so that's why we know Edmund. So when MassMutual was saying, you know, we want to keep doing more for this community. This is not the only community that MassMutual supports, but they're they really want to engage with all the different communities. And so that's when Colin and I met, and he introduced me to Kelly's amazing work and Paula, one of their colleagues. But we engaged with them when MassMutual wanted to do Adopt a Runner for the New York City Marathon. And Colin told me, you know, we really, really want to engage with Achilles International because they have these amazing, amazing athletes with disabilities that are running the marathon. And so I engaged with Dick Traum because of Colin, and they just have impressed us so much. And then I knew that Edmund was one of the athletes, but let's pass it back over to Colin for a second. And Colin, tell us about Adopt a Runner and, you know, why Mass Mutual is working hard to engage all the communities.
Sure, sure. So, so Adopt a Runner was a lot of fun. We did this. So we relaunched our brand in May of this year, and we wanted to do something in the fall. So we were looking around at various events, and keeping in mind, Deborah, you mentioned Live Mutual, and that was the centerpiece of our brand relaunch. And Live Mutual is essentially reminding people about the strength of interdependence. And it goes back to our core as a mutual company. We're owned by our customers. And Live Mutual is sort of the embodiment of that. It reminds people that there's so much strength in mutuality and strength in family and friends and even strangers working together towards a shared goal and purpose. So we had a big launch in May, and we wanted to do something in the fall to remind people about the strength of mutuality. We were looking at various events, and one of the biggest events in the fall is the New York City Marathon. And as we looked into it, we found and discovered that over 70% of the athletes in the race are coming from out of town, and they don't have a local New York City person there to cheer for them. And so that was the cornerstone for Adopt a Runner, so that we could have a local New York City person there, a local New Yorker as a fan, to adopt a runner and cheer for them. And that's the spirit of mutuality and Living Mutual, to try to bring people together and cheer them through this grueling race. And we were really happy with the way things turned out. We got over 800 pairings of people together, and we're really happy about all that. And while we had tons of great stats for success and visibility, engagement, all of that, what we were really pleased with were the comments on Facebook. And there was one comment in particular that I was reading to the team afterwards, where there was a runner who just literally this long paragraph, and she just was writing to thank us that, you know, she was interacting with her fan. It was a racer. She was interacting with her fan through social media, and her fan told her where to meet her, and she didn't quite see her at almost the spot, but then she saw her, and she was so excited. She gave her a hug, and then her fan then met her at the finish line also. And she just wrote us to say that it really just made her race for her, and it was such a great experience, and she hopes that we do it again. And so we're looking at the races that are coming up, and we're thinking about doing it again because we were so happy with the way it turned out. And it was notes like that that really just made it really special for us, because that was what we wanted to accomplish. We wanted to have people come together and experience that Live Mutual moment. And so that's Adopt a Runner in a nutshell.
It sounds like a really good program, and really good to bring people together. And social media is something that brings people together. Well, most of the time. Sometimes it divides us, depends on the topic, of course. However, I know that Mass Mutual has a bunch of outreach topics, and you have chats on a lot of things, from small business to college funding. And so how does all of this work on social channels fit in with your branding, and how to support what you're doing as an organization?
So it goes back to who we are as a mutual company. We're owned by our customers, and our customers are members of those communities. So if we're not participating in those communities, we're ignoring them. You'd never want to ignore our customers. So we feel we have to participate in those various communities and engage with those communities in various ways, and social is a great way to do that. So we'll do that through various Twitter chats, whether it's for example, we had a chat during Pride Month, and that was wonderful. We'll do things during Black History Month to engage and showcase actually some of our own employees. We had a veterans video recently, again, showcasing how we're focused in those markets, how some of our employees are members of those communities. It's a great way to engage directly with the community that we are a part of and that our customers are a part of. And so that's really important for us. And then also, Kelly is a part of this community on the special care side. I'm a part of that community as well. And so it's very important for us, whether no matter your ability as well.
So I think it's unavoidable to ask, when you are talking about engaging with communities, can you tell us what have you learned from that engagement? Because I'm sure when you do that type of work, there's a lot of value from the outcomes that results from that engagement.
So yeah, that's really there's a lot of levels of information that you can get there. First of all, you can find wonderful people like all of you. We've discovered other wonderful influencers, whether it's Deborah, whether it's Edmund, whether it's all of you here on this great chat. So that's one level of discovery of great information, and that helps us to engage more deeply within a community. The other, and it's almost like an iceberg, right? So there's the parts that you'll see, and this may be a visible component of that. And then there's the parts that nobody will see. It's all the behind the scenes communication. So if we're thinking about whether it's about developing a new marketing campaign, maybe it might be product strategy or something like that, we have people we can bounce ideas off of, and that's critically important. And that's all the stuff that's below the surface. It's the depth of that iceberg that where we're more firmly ingrained within a community. And I don't know if Kelly wants to elaborate more on that, but when you're engaged more deeply within a community, it just gives you so much more richness that you can explore and benefit from. It's really just tremendous.
Kelly, do you want to elaborate?
I am. I'm trying to jump in here. I'm having a little delay. But absolutely, I mean, I think one of the things that we do really well is we work with national nonprofits across the country, because as we all know, special needs does not discriminate. It'll take any of us at any point and any time in your lives. So we know that there are many families like ours out there. They say 1 in 10 families are caring for a dependent with special needs. So as a company, it's not just about our advisors and specially training them to work with these families, but it's our employees and it's everyone we touch. We want to make sure that we are engaged with the community, and we do that by working with several national large nonprofits. We have a great relationship with Easter Seals. We also work with the ARC of the US. We work with the Autism Society. But really, it's not because we're trying to get business, but because we want to be engaged in the community. These are the families that we serve. So the only way to truly be involved is to be involved within these national nonprofits. I personally also sit on 2 national boards, and not because of my great job at Mass Mutual, though I'd love to say that, but it's because I truly believe in the cause, and I believe that we need to advocate for these individuals that don't have anyone to advocate for them. So as a company, we have done quite a bit when it comes to philanthropic efforts. to help the community, to build communities, to make sure that people are properly educated. So it goes well beyond the responsibility or the duty of an insurance company. They take it to a completely different level. Something that we've done is our advisors that work within this community are specially trained. We have thousands of advisors within MassMutual. Only a core group are allowed to work with these families. And we do that specifically because we want to make sure that those that they touch know what to tell these families. So we are deeply involved within the nonprofits. I only named a few. There are several across the country that we are involved in, and we support events every day for them. And our advisors and our field force as well help the nonprofits across the country.
I know that you also support Achilles International. MassMutual just started working with them. So, and Easter Seals has a special place in my heart because when our daughter was diagnosed with Down syndrome, Easter Seals stepped in to help our family because we had no idea where to begin. So, and of course, I'm also involved with the ARC because my daughter does a lot of their programs. So let's ask a question to Edmund. So Edmund, I know that you participated in the Adopt a Runner and you ran the New York City Marathon. And you're part of the Achilles International team. So did you yourself sign up for a fan of Adopt a Runner, and what did you think about the program?
Oh, I would say that it was really, really lovely. It's like as soon as I heard about, and just like Colin mentioned, when you are coming from outside New York City to race in New York or any other city that you are going there, virtually most of these athletes don't know anybody. And at the end of the day, what happens is that you'll be doing the race and you will see people being cheered on, by amazing cheerleaders. And the question is, who is actually out there cheering for me? So as soon as I heard about this initiative by MassMutual, I was really, really happy. I was delighted to hear that because at the end of the day, that gave me, that hope and encouragement that, hey, Edmund, you may not know who is out there cheering up for you. And lo and behold, I saw, a lot of people alongside the street actually cheering, athletes like me, holding MassMutual, the Adopt a Runner, logo or something like that, that helped out to identify them. So I would say that it's really, really, it's really, really helpful. And the thing is, somebody will ask what is the impact of somebody cheering, a runner? What is the importance of that? Now, the importance is that as soon as you heard even a voice, somebody, like calling your name, saying that, hey, Edmund, you are almost there. That gives you a different energy. It's like it revitalizes your system. And from nowhere, you will see yourself, going, you keep going, you keep going. And that is what this initiative, Adopt a Runner, did to athletes with disabilities during the New York City Marathon this year. So it is an amazing program, and I'm always available, and I'm gonna do my best to even evangelize to get more athletes to sign up with it. The next time, there will be a race that Adopt a Runner would be willing to actually, help the same way they did during the New York City Marathon. So it is a wonderful program.
I agree, Edmund, and I also did Adopt a Runner as a fan. Dick Traum told me I got to run the New York City Marathon next year, and I'm like, really? He said, come on, Deborah, you can do it. So he's going to coach me. But I signed up as a fan, and I was hooked up with a woman in Maryland who was a cancer survivor and was running for cancer. And I got such a thrill out of being able to support this woman. And, I was supporting her on Instagram and Twitter and social media and different channels. And I felt like I was a little part of it, even though I didn't run the race like you did, Edmund. Yeah. So did you get to meet your fan from Adopt a Runner? or there was many fans?
Not really, but I was able to meet, I mean, the team with
Okay.
Colin and Richard. Richard was also there, the team that actually came, and a couple of other people from Mass Mutual who actually met us, like right after the finish line. And that alone was a huge welcome because, I mean, my wife was not right there. She had to walk in and all that, in spite of what happened to me that day. But seeing that even somebody was at the finish line or right after the finish line to, to celebrate me was amazing. It made me feel accomplished, even though physically, due to mechanical issues, I couldn't finish the race as I expected. So it's definitely, yes, it was an amazing. I will forever be thankful to Mass Mutual for this initiative.
So Edmund, so it's fair to say this is a kind of an empathy program, so that now in the end, you both have smiles and you somehow hug and you are able to build a relationship with other people.
Yeah.
But I also like to ask, as being someone that is an athlete doing the marathon, do you see that that can inspire kids and families or other people to become themselves athletes and probably join the next marathon and even join the program as well? How you see you as some of a role model? Is there any stories that you can tell us, people that chat with you at the end? What can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So like I said earlier on, you knowing very well that there is somebody out there, cheering for you, like, making sure that you get that extra energy to push the bikes to the finish line. It's one thing, and that alone is a motivation. And to your question specifically, I believe that more and more people, even athletes with disabilities, I mean, ever since I've been with this team for like 8 years, I know a lot of athletes who came in and has stopped. They don't even show up anymore. Now, if we get the chance, maybe through Achilles, to contact these people and tell them that, hey, this is what is going on, and the fact that you are the only person living in New York City doesn't mean that there will be no one there cheering you, to the finish line. People will be energized. I introduced some few people to Adapt a Runner, and last week when we met for, like, every time we finish with the marathon, we meet and sort of like have fun. We eat and we talk about our experience and all that. And people that I actually introduced to the program and were interviewed by Richard, they really enjoyed themselves, because they said that, hey, there is one lady in it who's told me that even though I know that my mom and my dad were around, knowing that, Adapt a Runner, people from Adapt a Runner were right there trying to talk to me, that alone actually changed, it made my accomplishment real. And that was so powerful. Usually you don't hear people saying that, So I believe that this campaign will actually go a long way to push some athletes with disabilities, or even those who have not tried the sports before, get into it. And for their families, some families who hear about this will just go back and talk to, their relatives with disabilities, say, hey, have you heard about Achilles International? Have you heard about, persons with disabilities doing the New York City Marathon? If the person says no, the family member will say, oh, I know of something great that is happening in the city between, or that is being promoted by Mass Mutual and Achilles International in New York. So you can join. This is actually a paradigm shift, and it's like it's going to revolutionize the whole thing. And at the end of the day, we will see more abilities, of persons with disabilities. Let me say this before I finish responding to you. I was telling Richard and the other Mass Mutual team that showed up there was that there is also a connection to the other aspect of persons with disabilities, especially employment. There are so many people with disabilities who have been attending interviews, but due to, like biases, prejudice, whatever is going on, discrimination, persons with disabilities are not getting jobs because people always underestimate our abilities. So being able to showcase this to the world that, hey, persons with disabilities, this is what we are doing, it will go a long way to even change the perception of employers, recruiters, and all those people out there. So it is a great campaign, yes.
Thank you, Edmund. I'm going to try and draw some parallels now. So essentially, Adopt a Run is a great program, and it's supporting athletes, but also supporting people in their wider lives, as you've alluded to. So yet we see so many brands not engaging with the community of disabilities. Why do you think, and this is an open question to all three of you, mutuals as a mutual society wanting to engage, why do you think it's important for brands in general to engage with the community and support us? Because effectively that's what you're doing in sport, but you're also doing it in your day-to-day business. Why do you think it's important for other brands to do so too?
Kelly, do you want to?
Well, it's Kelly. Sure, I'll absolutely jump in. Why wouldn't it be? I guess is the question. Why would we even have to ask? I believe that everyone should be included, whether they have a disability or not. We should never exclude those or even think twice about their potential. My son can only smile. He's 17 years old. Will I ever give up on his potential? Absolutely not. And there are many families like myself, and why should our families be excluded? And why should a brand not include those with disabilities? Why aren't we employing people with disabilities and supporting them like everybody else? It would be no different than any other group that we decided to exclude. So at MassMutual, we make a big attempt to include everyone. And I think it should be across the country, not just MassMutual. People with disabilities live amongst us. Many years ago, people with disabilities were put in institutions and put away. And, what a loss for society. That's not the way we live today. Our children with disabilities and our adult children are living independently and live amongst us. And for a company or a corporation to overlook them or not include them is really their loss. So I truly believe that all brands should include people with disabilities. That's advertising, that's marketing, that's everything. Not everybody looks the same. So when we do our advertising, absolutely, when we do our advertising, we include all types of different couples and people. Everybody is different today. So being with the times, I truly believe we need to show everyone the way they are. And as a company, we support that. So I think it's a company that I can certainly be proud of to work for.
So that's a great answer, and of course we want everyone to be included. I think that you touched on something that's really very close to our own hearts, and that's of people in the marketing imagery that inclusive advertising and media. Are there any particular organizations that you engage to do that, or are you just generally getting people in your marketing materials that are reflective of the genuine population at large, rather than sort of airbrushed images of perfect Vogue model people?
I mean, exactly. I mean, clearly, one of the things that I did when I came to MassMutual about a year ago is I took a look at all the special care marketing materials, and I didn't see many people. I mean, they had some with disabilities, but they didn't have a lot. And certainly not to MassMutual's fault, but many of the companies that provide images don't necessarily provide an image with a person with a real disability. And when I say a real disability, that means somebody, when you're looking at a wheelchair, it's not a wheelchair that you use to port someone back and forth, to an ambulance. It's a wheelchair like my son that's very, very involved. It's that type of wheelchair. So I think at MassMutual, they spend a lot of time on getting images that truly reflect what we're trying to say, whether it's a same-sex couple or a person with a disability. They want genuine images. They don't want airbrushed images. They don't want images that are always pretty and perfect, because as we all know, that's not what life is about.
That's great.
They've made a big effort.
That's fantastic. There is a meme on social media about the forlorn wheelchair in the stock images. You've got the stock images of the empty wheelchair on the beach. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you those wheelchairs are not the type of wheelchair that I lift for my 17-year-old.
No.
His wheelchair is about 80 pounds. That's not it.
No, definitely. So there is a real need for good stock imagery of real people and real people with disabilities, and also for stock imagery of people with hidden disabilities as well, which is harder, of course, because hidden disabilities, they could be any of us. We're sat here, there's several of us here with hidden disabilities, and you wouldn't know from the stock photos necessarily.
No, talking about image, we have a group of things called NOS, Why Not, who have a group of people with disabilities who are taking pictures and creating stock photo that can then be available for anyone. So it's very interesting to see the two sides. One is photography that is able to show who we are and be diverse, and at the same time to have photos taken by people with disabilities and different ways of expression that that's like Edmund was illustrating before, that is able to illustrate that to employers, that people can have a job and can be really creative and dynamic.
That's a great point.
I also will state that those photographers are photographers with intellectual disabilities themselves, which it makes it even more cool. So they're taking authentic photographs of individuals with disabilities in a lot of different settings, and the photographers are individuals with intellectual disabilities, like both of our children, Kelly. So that's exciting. I know that we're almost out of time, but I wanted to say, Colin, did you want to make any more comments, about, why engaging with the different communities is important to MassMutual? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but just wanted to give you the microphone one more time.
Sure. Maybe just elaborating on that last point, which I think was a great one. And, Kelly, your answer was absolutely perfect. The one thing that I think really helps us is that everybody from our senior leadership on down really supports everything that we're doing from a diversity and inclusion standpoint. And by providing that sort of infrastructure and support, that really helps us from a marketing standpoint make these right decisions, so that when we have senior leadership support, when they help us create internal groups, whether it's for our gay and lesbian coworkers, or whether it's for ADAPT, people with disabilities, a support group there, that really helps us as employees to get the support we need, but then also as marketers to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. So that support infrastructure helps in so many ways, and without that, it would we'd fall down as a marketing organization. So that's critically important to our success. And again, it goes back to who we are as a company, really trying to live mutually for our customer base and supporting all Americans, regardless of who you are.
And Colin, just on that note, and then I'm going to turn it over to Neil to close. But I know that MassMutual is an American company, but I think that a lot of the global brands can learn a lot about how y'all are engaging with our community. So I know that the global brands that are listening to us, and Neil's about to thank one of the global brands that supports us, but I think a lot of the global brands can learn from what MassMutual is doing, and with the good work that Kelly and you and Paula and the entire team is doing. Let me turn it over to you, Neil.
Okay, no, thank you, Deborah. And it's been great learning about what you do. Obviously, we don't know, being the wrong side of the pond, about all of the work that you're doing to be inclusive. So it's fantastic to hear about it. We need to thank our supporters, Barclays, for helping us keep the lights on and doing the captioning, etc., and making sure that we can be as inclusive as possible and as speedily as possible, because obviously part of inclusion is making sure that the accessible media is produced in a timely manner. So thank you to Barclays. Really looking forward to you joining us tomorrow night on Twitter. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to interview you.
Thank you.
Thank you.